I think it's like August 25th, 2023. Welcome back, YouTubers, subscribers, and friends and the like. It's Grant coming at you from Shatter, Nebraska. Excuse the dog next door. He might bark a few times during this video. There's the Geo. There's what I call Itty. Bauer is down the street, well, a few streets, across town at the Ford dealership because the engine most likely seized up or the sensor went out. Ford hasn't got to it yet. They won't get to it till the 19th. So my mom and I went around looking to see if we could get a deal on 3-for-1, three of these cars for one decent car that was a crossover, basically a smaller SUV that my mom would be able to fit in because that's on the floor, she says, and this climbs up a mountain. And then the cars weren't running right. That one might have a seized engine. This one might have a blown head. So I was totally okay with getting rid of them too. So the deal is three of these cars for a crossover SUV, kind of like that one, but that's not exactly what she wants. It's like a curved one right there would be better. That's almost exactly in the category of what she would have done. But we went around everywhere in Shattern to test market out all the different dealers and private sale people, and then the used cars and the new car dealerships to see what they would offer. Finally, we ended up having to settle for $1,000 each of the Expeditions, and I have $5,000 in the one that's over at the Ford dealer, and I have $2,000 in this one, but I come to find out it was a mistake buying them. There's a mechanic downtown, across the railroad tracks. He has 5 of them lined up. Only one actually drives still, but every single one of them have the blown head. And after hearing that, I cannot promote Fords anymore. I bought up these Expeditions specifically because I used to work for PTI, Professional Transportation Company, well, they're nationwide, but I worked in Mouse City, and they hauled the BNSF train crews around, and they would take these are the vans they would use because they had up to 8 people you could store, plus cargo, and you could pull stuff and everything. So the railroad crews would get in there, and they were basically a BNSF train crew taxi. They would take the train crew from the train to the depot, or from the depot to the trains, and that's how the train crews got on their trains and left, because you have to park trains in certain spots. You can't just always be at the depot. So they would use these vans for that. Come to find out now, after the fact, after I bought them and everything, that what they would do is they'd run them for the first 200,000 miles from when they're new to 200,000 mile mark, like what these are at, and then they would pay to rebuild the engine because it was cheaper than buying the whole van, and then they'd run it another 100,000 and then sell it. This is information I found out now after the fact. Before, I was told that they would go forever, go 400,000 miles, and you just have some basic maintenance at the 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 mile marks of replacing some sensors and stuff like that. And that part is true, but what they don't tell you is most likely all these Fords, at least in this category this year, somewhere between 2000 and 2007, all have a blown engine. They usually just have a blown head at the 200,000 mile mark. And unless you're a company that has the money to spend, for a company it makes sense to go put a $5,000 engine in this car and make it go another 100,000 or 200,000 miles. And anybody else who's private who has that kind of money, it would make sense. But in truth, unless you can keep the body condition pretty good like this one is, for a private person, it's not worth your time. Not putting another $5,000 into something to keep it going unless it's sentimental to you or something. At that point, they're not worth the time. But in the meantime, I'd put new tires on what I call Bauer down there at the Ford dealership. This one I call Itty because they're both Itty Bauer limited editions. It's at the Ford dealership. Most likely it's got a seized engine. This one has the blown head behind it and about to go out behind Bauer. So I'm going to take the deal on $1,000 for each Expedition and get out from under them. And what the dealership's going to do is take the parts from Bauer at the Ford dealership. It's the Chevy dealership we're dealing with. They're going to drag that car across town, take the parts that they need off of it to put it on this one, because the other one's got newer tires and so on. They're going to Frankenstein them together like I always thought I was going to look into doing. They're going to do it and turn around and sell this one for about $4,000. Pay us $2,000 for the two, sell this one for $4,000, and most likely sell the other one's scrap metal parts off to that guy across the railroad track for $150. So they're going to make $4,150 off of it, and we get $2,000. We get $1,000 for each Expedition, and I'm $5,000 into the Bauer that's over there in Ford, and I'm $2,000 into this, and it was a costly mistake. on my part. But it's something I can take and learn from it. Two things happened that I'm happy about. I brought this second one over here that we're looking at now, just to kind of see my mom's confused face when I pulled up with the same exact thing, and she happened to have the other one parked right there. I pulled up in the driveway with the other one because she knew it was coming, but thought it was coming in a work truck or something. And I surprised her with the same thing, almost same make and model and color. And just to see that confused look on her face that day, that was made it worth it. Worth my time, you know. Just an antique, weird, custom memory you get out of the deal, I guess. The thumbnail in this picture that you'll see is literally 10 minutes after I surprised her with the car. We went up to the park around the street up there and took pictures of them both side by side. And that'll be a forever lasting good and bad memory at the same time because of having to take the lost money on it. But money-wise, money comes and goes, especially with my news of going back to Worldwide, and they are busy in the winter time, and I'm pretty sure they'll keep me busy in the winter. But I found out lately that Worldwide, the non-CDLs drivers don't stay as busy in the summer because they tie a pickup onto a trailer, and then you're required to have a CDL to pull that because of how heavy the trailers are, to take utility trailers back to stock them over the summer, to store them, I should say. And so most of their traffic is truck and trailer together, and that's why I wasn't getting any business in the summertime, and it got slower and slower, and they were not surprised at all that I quit. But here with this new revelation of what's happening here, I have decided to go back to Worldwide, because the other thing is, we did a 3-to-1 for the cars, or we were trying to do that. The original idea was $2,000 for that one, $5,000 at the one over there, and $1,500 is what I got into that one. And we were trying to get, of course, as close to that money value out of them as we could on a straight trade, over for about a $6,000 car for Mom, give or take, something like that. That didn't happen because the Expeditions are apparently, honestly, known junk unless you work for the company. I didn't know any of this till I started. I don't think I'm ever going to buy a Ford again. I hate to blast Ford. I'm sure there's people that love Fords out there, but with their sensors and everything, they're right up there in that category, the same as my Mazda that I had that had sensors that just shut it down, and I shouldn't have done it. The Geo, on the other hand, has no sensors in it. You can drive that thing as long as it's got fluid in it. It'll go and go and go. So these two we're going to sell for $1,000 a piece at the dealership, just to get out from under them, kind of. Like I said, we're taking a loss on it, but it was an experience. It was a memory worth it, I guess. And that one, I'm 50-50 on. I would prefer to, if I am going to sell it, I'm going to want to get at least my $1,500 out of it. Technically, I got $1,570 into it because I forgot there's a $70 brake cylinder, master cylinder that we put on there after the fact, and forgot to include that. But I figured at $1,500 it's close enough. I can count that $70 off as renting it, or as towards gas, you know what I mean? In terms of driving it, you know, it saved me gas over driving this. Right here, that's $10 for every 100 miles. This is 20 to 25 depending on the gas range for every 100 miles. So obviously I saved gas with that. So that made it worth it, I guess, paying the extra $70 for the brake cylinder. So it's for sale for $1,500 firm. I do not want to go under $1,500 because the deal is I'm going to take $500 of it for my food and my bus ticket to go back to Worldwide, and my mom is going to take $1,000 from that, $1,000 from that, and $1,000 from Bauer over in the Ford dealership, and try to put it toward a car or a conference that she wants to go to, or she may have to move right here this month too, out of this house to another house in town, or might move who knows where. And it gives her a little bit of a buffer, that $2 or $3 grand worth. So right now we're sitting at $2 grand for the Expeditions, I'm pretty sure on, no matter what, because I just want to get out from under them after hearing what the mechanic had to say downtown. And then I don't know yet on the Geo. I can use the Geo to go to work. I could put a $200 to $700 tow bar on it and go to work with it, and it would make me money for a while. But at the same time, I have a winter job, I found out, since they don't have much business for non-CDL in the summer. And I have a summer car, because that thing between the roof and just the fact that it has no power, and then it's two-wheel wheel drive, I believe, it's just all the time nice weather car. It's going to be almost useless in the wintertime, and I can just see Worldwide sending me back and forth across Colorado between Grand Junction and Denver on the short runs, and I get to go out of that for a little bit and back to Grand Junction and Denver, and I could see making use out of it on a nice day like today, but then when the snow comes and the bad weather, then it's useless again. So I don't know, but I'm half-half. I like the little car. It's a nice gas saver. If somebody were to bring me 1,500 firm, I would sell it, because that's on the low end. Even with the rust and everything, it's worth 1,500, because if you put this on a Facebook, or not Facebook, but just in general on a website, for a unique car collection website, it can go up to $4,000. They have cars on there that have sold for $4,000 in that same make and model. I've gone over it before, but it's a 92 Geo Metro, then it's a convertible, then it's a 5-speed, then it's also a 3-cylinder, so it's very rare, rare on top of rare on top of rare. And to see it still moving down the road, I get comments everywhere. I got 4 buyers interested in it in Shattern that I know of. They're just low ball buyers because they don't know what's in it. They don't know the value in it, so they're offering me 500 or 700, and I'm sorry for that. I might as well just keep it and use it for work. So this one's been kind of half-half. We'll see what happens on Monday. All the titles show up on Monday. I have one of the 3. The one that Bauer that's over there in the Ford dealership, I have the title for it. I could sign it over today, but we're making a deal for him to take 2, because right now they don't even want to touch that one because it's not running. And then this one supposedly has a problem with the 4-wheel drive. I don't think that's exactly right, because I've taken it and used the 4-wheel drive and it doesn't do that. I think he's hearing the noise from the front tire, but I don't think it's nothing to do with the transfer case and 4-wheel drive. But they tried to make that as the excuse that they need to only do 1,000 for each expedition. And like I said, they're going to take 2,000 bottom line to give us for the 2 expeditions, and then they're going to turn around and build this one up, sell it for $4,000, and the other one's going to be $150 in parts, give or take, and that they'll sell to the guy across the tracks. But I mean, at the end of the day, they got to make money too. But I want to throw up. We don't even look at them. I'm glad to bless my mom with the money so that she can try and get into another car. And then, like I say, she may be moving or not this month, depending too. So, being that she's on a fixed income, I'm more than happy to bless her with that money. It's just, don't know what's going to go on with that one. Partly would prefer to keep it, partly would prefer to sell it, because I don't know how much I could use it if I put a $200 or $700 tow kit on it, and the lights and whatnot, and the harness, do all that, and then I can only use it in nice weather. I mean, I could use it next summer, but the problem is my job slows down in the summertime. But I mean, it would really work during then, because they slow down and they have a truck, and then you have to take a rental car 200 miles out to get another truck because they're slow. And in the wintertime, it's just truck to truck, and it's almost like you don't need a tow car in the winter. They're so busy, they got trucks everywhere. But in the summertime, you almost need a tow car, so it would almost work. The problem is I kind of more need a year-round car than that. So instead, like the thumbnail, sorry about the dog barking, can't control it. Like the thumbnail I said, this is a good lesson to learn money-wise. I should not have spent that time and money on it. And this time I'm going to take that thumbnail as my goal, as my picture. I'm going to start putting money away, and I'm going to look at that thumbnail every time I want to spend it. And I'm going to say, this is what you did to yourself. You blew that money on a car that's too old. And I think my bare minimum is going to be $8,000 if I can find a decent Honda CR-V. I'd prefer a hybrid Honda CR-V that gets better gas mileage. Put a tow bar on it and use it with a hardtop, obviously, because I learned my lessons. The convertible, it's not going to work in the winter. Honda CR-V might work slightly better as a tow car, because a tow car you've got to, I mean, I could go with the Jeep Wrangler, but then fuel mileage, you'd eat fuel mileage year-round on big-ass tires for a nice Jeep Wrangler. It'd get you around in the wintertime like nothing, till one hit behind trucks. But then you eat the fuel, and then you can get a smaller car like this or a Honda CR-V and get better fuel mileage, but then you can't get around as good in the winter. So I gotta find a tow car that's right between the two if I'm gonna do that. Or I can keep doing the rental cars, or I can keep hitchhiking between trucks, or I can just get out of transporting and whatever, you know. But the video's getting pretty long. I do want to include my admin on this channel, Airplane312, pointed out that I can take out taxes, a tax cut on these 2 expeditions, possibly all 3 of them if I sell 3. because I also was using that specifically for DoorDash. And DoorDash is a business in which I'm self-employed. And being self-employed, and being that I'm using my car, I can take that as a loss. So the one car that's sitting over at the Ford dealership, it's $5,000. This one's $2,000. We're gonna sell them for $2,000, so it kind of wipes the cost of this one out. The other one I can write off for $5,000 as a total loss, and basically say I used it specifically for DoorDashing, which I did for 2 or 3 months, and used DoorDashing as the cause and the reason why it went out, why the engine seized, and write it off for taxes, which would kind of erase any kind of taxes that DoorDash would make me have to pay back. So I guess, you know, it's a nice wash on that, I guess. That's the beauty of being self-employed. So there's that, and I'm grateful for Airplane312 pointing that out. He's also my admin on my channel, and he's also the reason that I even have one of those 2 expeditions. Actually, both of them, I think. If I remember right, he helped me front the money to get those expeditions, because they came up at a time when I would really love to get it, but I didn't have all of the money. I maybe had half of it, or I can't remember, 3/4 of it, somewhere around half, and he fronted the other half, because he knew I had a paycheck the next week. I could pay him back, and I did. So thank you, Airplane312, for doing that, and for pointing out that I could take this as a tax write-off as a loss.
I'm going to run these to a friend's house. You want to come?
Forgot where I was at, but basically, to tell you the future apparently leads me back to Worldwide, because I know they were busy the last, what is it, only 4 or 5 months I ran from, if that. They were just truck to truck to truck all winter, so I'm looking forward to going back to that. Health-wise, not so much. My driver's side foot, they call it driver's foot after being on the puddle so long, that foot's starting to hurt. And I started to gain weight, but I'm thinking about what I'm going to do is combine transporting and DoorDashing, because we are allowed up to 200-mile radius extra on the runs for these rental trucks. And so on the days that I arrive somewhere early and I'm a day early, like say it's over the weekend, and you can't deliver the run until Monday morning, and I'm sitting there Saturday evening all day Sunday, I can run DoorDash and Uber Eats that little 10 miles or whatever, 30 or 40 bucks worth here or there, to just pay for the day's food, so it kind of cancels out the wait time. And you know, because every day it's going to be 30 bucks worth of food a day, give or take. That's what the average is. And so figuring on that, I'm going to just do that. And I've already been told, you know, that I'm good to go on that, that they don't care. It's so low of miles that they don't really care what I do. It's no different than my going across town to get my own food for the day. The couple times that that I'm waiting to deliver the truck here or there, we've got a 200-mile extra radius on it to do it, so they're not worried about 30 miles or 30 miles or whatever my extra I might put on it, because you just do that on average anyway when you pull off the interstate, go to find a hotel or wherever you're going to stay the night in the parking lot of, or in the hotel itself or whatever. You're driving all that distance that technically speaking is off the route, because you're going from down the map and then to the hotel and back down the map route to where you're going. And so people have what they call personal conveyance miles anyways. So I'm just going to use that for DoorDash. Keep my DoorDash going on a little teeny tiny basis here and there when I want to do it, and probably Uber Eats. And I might, maybe, if I get around to finding a place that's not on a waiting list, sign up for Walmart Spark and do some Walmart delivery too, if I happen to be near Walmart and stuff. And that's the general idea, is I'm going to just go back to transporting and do a combination of the two. And the main reason why I'm going to get out and do DoorDashing, outside of just canceling the day's food out, is to get myself out there and in shape. You know, delivering up 3 flights of stairs to apartments and stuff like that, you know, and getting myself out of the car. Because before doing RV transport and doing Worldwide's Premier Truck Rental Transport, you just got bigger and bigger. You're doing nothing but 600 miles worth of driving a day, and that's 11-hour days, because, you know, you max your log out, and by the time you get done driving, you didn't want to do anything else. And so I got to physically, this little bit of vacation break I took reminded me that I need to get out there and physically move myself, because I wasn't doing it before and I was getting out of shape. But at least this vacation, this 2 or 3 month DoorDash vacation that you saw in my other previous videos, you know, taught me something, I guess I should say. And it's a job I can take with me anywhere. That's the other beauty of it. Nationwide, just like transporting is. Take it wherever I want. If they have a DoorDash that's big enough for DoorDash. And of course, if I do end up taking that as a tow car, I can DoorDash with that in between trucks. And the beauty of having a tow car, if I were to take it with me during the nice weather times, is I can use it and transport when I want or not. You know, it's not having to go from truck to truck to try to give myself somewhere to go. At least with the tow car, I would have that option. But like I say, I'm 50-50 on whether or not to sell that one. If they bring me $1,500 for them, I will sell it, take the $500, get my bus ticket, and go back to trucking. Because like another friend of mine reminded me, if the transporting is busy, I make a couple grand in the next week time frame. It's just on how much I want to drive. Anyway, and I can just go buy whatever for $2,000. That would happen to be a hard top. I'd want to get a hard top. And then hook a tow bar up to it with their next couple worth of truck trips, you know, to pay for the tow bar. And down the road I go again. So it's not a huge deal as a loss, but I would like to get my money back out of it. In terms of that one, it is a fun little 5-speed car to drive though, and in nice weather it is great. I would totally love to have that as a tow car in nice weather. The problem is, how long is it going to be nice weather? So, but anyway, that's the rest of this video. I just wanted to show you the updates of what all happened to me and what all is going on and why I have the thumbnail. Hopefully it's a catchy thumbnail that gets you to watch the video. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on next time's flip. Probably in a worldwide, well, in a premier truck rental truck for driving for worldwide. Catch you on the flip. Peace.